Israel is in very serious trouble. They embarked on this war without understanding what they were doing. And I think Ben Gavir said that by accident in public when he mentioned, we didn't appreciate the power of the Iranian missile arsenal. Well, that's an understatement. They can't stop much of anything. Iron Dove has turned out to be a sieve, Iron Dome, that is. And we're not going to be able to do as much damage as we think. I think the integrated air defenses will have an impact. Can they prevent everything from getting through? No, that's impossible. But I think it's going to retard the effort that we're about to undertake. The other thing is we have over 40,000 troops on the ground in the region. I imagine that once we attack, the Iranians will feel obligated to attack those targets. So we could lose a lot of people. We don't have the air defense network in place to stop much of it. Our air defenses have always been woefully behind the rest of the armed forces in terms of their development and investment. When I was in the Army, where you have much of your ground based air defense, we always used to refer to them as the red-headed stepchildren. They never had enough. But we, on the other hand, had never really faced an enemy that had tremendous missile and air power. And Iran definitely has that. So I think we're at the beginning of a long war. There will be no sudden surrender by the Iranians to Donald Trump, no matter what he's being told. And I think he's very foolish to believe any of the people talking to him, because these are the same people that urged us to become involved in Ukraine and sponsor the Ukrainian battering ram against Russia, telling us all back in February of 2022, March, April, May, June, July, and onward, oh, the Russians are incompetent. The Russians are running out of ammunition. The Russians don't have enough missiles. The Russian soldiers don't want to fight, on and on and on. Well, that was all nonsense, lies. Most of what is being heard in the mainstream media about Iran is also one big lie. Iran is not about to surrender. It's not going to crumble. There will be no uprising to remove the regime. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready. This is going to go on and on and on until Israel is practically destroyed. Then the question is, will the Israelis turn to a nuclear weapon? That, of course, is the last thing in the world they should do, simply because if they do use a nuclear weapon at some point in desperation, others in the region will suddenly produce nuclear weapons that will be used against them. And of course, that is a Pandora's box that no one in their right mind should want to open. But I don't think any of this is being carefully considered.
Yeah, and that is a major concern, right? Because when I'm hearing Israel's defense minister saying Tehran will burn, I'm wanting to know, okay, what does he have in store? What is he thinking about?
The Jewish billionaires that fund the lobby and helped him to gain the White House now want to be repaid in kind. So I don't think he has much choice. What he's done, though, is that he's listened, as I pointed out before, to the same poisonous voices that took us into Ukraine, that created this terrible monster in Ukraine and then created the war that followed, that we have lost, that the Ukrainians have lost. Now, for some reason, he's allowed these people to convince him that we can walk in, bully, and pulverize our way to success in Iran. I think a part of him likes to bully. He certainly thinks bullying tactics work, and I think it's based on his business experience. But ultimately, I think it's a serious mistake, and it's not going to work. And the question is going to be, all right, we've done this for X number of days. We've committed all these aircraft, all these missiles, all these weapons. Now what? In Vietnam in 1968 or 69. And then you say, where am I? What am I doing? What's the point? What are we achieving? He's not asking those questions, and he shouldn't be listening to the people that are talking to him, to be perfectly blunt. But again, he has to rationalize it based on the campaign contributions and what he owes those who helped him gain the White House. It's going to fail. This is not going to work. Lost all these Marines in that barracks, stupidly, pointlessly, in a place where they had no business being, and accomplished nothing. Ronald Reagan, wised up quickly and said, "We're out," and left. Smart move. He got out. He didn't want to be dragged into this morass. I think Iran is far more cohesive socially than the United States right now. So under those circumstances, I think we're on a very dangerous path. We call democracy in the United States is a scam. It's not real. It's just not real. In when Louis XVI was crowned King of France, people in the streets in Paris and other cities said, "Long live Louis XVI, as long as the price of bread doesn't rise." And in 1789, there was a revolution because the French people in Paris could not afford to buy bread. It spread like wildfire across France. Now, pick a commodity, whatever you want in the United States. Pick any place in the United States. And you've got a very similar situation right now. Anyone who thinks that the Russians and the Chinese, and for that matter, many other powers, I don't need to go through all the Muslim powers, are all going to sit there quietly and watch us, on behalf of Israel, utterly destroy them. In other words, Iran and anybody else in the region, they're wrong. We're only at the beginning of this thing. That's why I said we need a great power conference. Let's stop this before it begins.